in EXT Danrayan Royal Castle 20 years later day. Vincent voiceover. So my lord. INT Danrayan Royal Castle Throne Room Day. Show that Michael had married Princess Christie and become king, as well that Vincent had grown up and become a knight. Michael, yes. Vincent, the big reunion with the rest of the heroes who you fought alongside of to defeat the Bound Wizard is coming up, so are you excited? Michael, well, I guess I am. Vincent, well, I can't, and I'm sure you can't wait to see your old friends again. I mean, you five were the adventurers who slayed the Bone Wizard. You five were my childhood heroes, and I wouldn't have even tried to become a knight without you five. Christy, you should be excited to see them again. I really do think that it was the defeat of the Bone Wizard the main factor in his decision to give you my hand in marriage. Michael, you are both right. I have forgotten how important that this reunion is to my life, and that it would be great to see my old friends again. INT Patrick at by a Royal Castle Throne Room Day. Show that in the last 20 years Edward had made both Pamela and his army of slave Valkyries to conquer the Amazon Empire in his name. Edward is sitting on his throne, as Amazonian slaves are dancing sexually successfully for his entertainment. Pamela enters the throne room. Pamela hypnotized. Shall we return to Danrayan, Master? Edward pauses. An image of Michael, Paul and Masashi flashes through Edward's mind. Edward thinking, why would I show up for that stupid reunion? I hate those people. Angle on Edward's face. Edward pauses. Paul voiceover. Listen, Edward, the first know that you work really hard to get these, but one of the 3 books that you got is actually filled with forbidden magic, and I won't be using it. Edward voiceover. Well, if you're not going to use it, can I have it? Paul voiceover. No, I must going to burn this dome of evil. Edward thinking, what would Paul know about forbidden magic? Look at what it did for my life. Edward gets an idea. Michael voiceover. Do not charge, and you wouldn't stand a chance against the Bone Wizard's forces. You won't have a chance to get your little hands on that map. Masashi voiceover to Michael. Don't. If you go up and say it to her, she'll give up on the quest entirely. Edward thinking, well then again, maybe I should return for that stupid reunion, plus I would love a chance to take Michael's giant ego and shove it down his throat. Edward, yes, we will. Edward to slave Amazon number 1 slave. Prepare my personal wagon. Slave Amazon number 1 hypnotized. Yes, master. Cut to EXT outskirts of Danrayan Night. Slave Amazon number 1 and Slave Amazon number 2 pull Edward's personal wagon with both Edward and Pamela inside of it. INT Danrayan Royal Castle Throne Room. The next day, King Michael and Queen Christie are sitting on their thrones. Vincent walks into the throne room. Vincent William, today's the day of the big reunion. Michael, yes it is. EXT Danrayan Reunion Ceremony Day. The 5 heroes are at the reunion. Show that all 5 heroes are sitting down on wooden chairs on a stage. Show a massive crowd at the reunion ceremony. Angle on Diane. Diane, 20 years ago today we celebrated the heroes who saved Danrayan from the Bone Wizard, the evil necromancer who once ravaged our fair kingdom, and now they have returned. The massive crowded cheers. Diane, now let us start with some questions. Diane to Edward. So Masashi, where are you now? Masashi, I'm now the royal archer. I still fight on the battlefield along with our king, accompany him on hunts and help train archers for our army. Diane to Edward. So Edward, what did you, after you left Dan Ryan? Edward, well, my parents turned out to have died of some illness that I can't remember. Then, I spent the rest of my childhood as well as my teenage years raiding both temples and ruins, amassed a huge fortune. Paul, well, I have a question. Paul to Edward, is it true that you're using forbidden magic to control Pamela like a puppet? Edward, no, I'm not. Diane, well, we all know that Michael eventually married then Princess, now Queen Christian, is now our king. Paul chanting Evil Subrahudam Sa Edward Levered Nas Evils Pamela's Fabi Pir Sigom Sin Bufas Ruop Atom Evik Sigom Suav Der Natnik Nafos Ruipet. Angle on Pamela's wrists. Paul summons a gust of magical wind that rips off Pamela's sleeves, revealing the enslavement shackles of the Orange King. Paul sees she's wearing the enslavement shackles of the Orange King, an item of forbidden magic. Edward, well, forbidden magic made my life a lot easier. Paul, by turning Pamela into your slave. Edward, while getting up, no. Edward points to Michael, Paul, and Masashi. Edward pointing at Michael, Paul, and Masashi. Well, forbidden magic is going to give me the chance to shove your egos right down your thoughts. I always knew that you never thought highly of me, and the only reason that, if I was ever successful, you would instantly assume that the success would come from a terrible place. Angle on Diane's face. Diane thinking, oh, this is such a juicy story. Edward points at both Michael and Paul. Angle on Paul. Edward voice over, and that was proven in the fact that you had to spy on me when I was out of Dan Ryan. Edward points at Paul. Edward voice over, which is kind of unpatriotic for you to talk about the enslavement shackles of the Orange King, as if it was the Necronomicon's even more wicked counterpart. Angle on Diane. Michael voice over, even though I'm kind of upset that I wasn't the one who slayed the Bone Wizard. Masashi voice over, it was Pamela. She just jumped onto the roof of Castle Bone and just beat him to death. Diane voice over, you go girl. Diane thinking, as juicy as this story is, this is the last time that I would risk saying anything that could cost me my head. Paul, there's a reason as to why the enslavement shackles of the Orange King are items of forbidden magic. Edward, which is? Paul, well, we don't know, you stole them from the Bone Wizard's vault, which is where the manuscripts probably are. Edward, and let me guess, someone burned the manuscripts and they're gone forever, right? Paul, annoyed, we don't know that. Edward to the massive crowd, if not for these two shackles and a magic mirror, the kingdom of Danrayan might not even exist. For all we know, Danrayan might have been conquered by the Amazons or hell, anyone else. Edward points at Michael. Angle on Michael. Edward, and you, Mr. High and Mighty Royal, you had your head up your ass ever since I met you, and I know that you're going to side with any of you stooges who would vilify me for my actions. Michael, all I can say right now is that I'm very conflicted on the matter. Edward, conflicted, hun? That's a really twisted way of looking at your hypocrisy. Michael screaming in anger, hypocrisy? Edward, yeah, hypocrisy, like I said. If it weren't for the enslavement shackles of the Orange King, the kingdom of Danrayan might not even exist, or most likely could have been conquered. And there's the fact the woman who you're married to is the descendant of the man who commissioned the creation of the items that you let one of your lackeys badmouth. Michael, livid/getting up, I suggest that you watch your mouth. Edward, or what, you'll pull out that sword of yours and chop me up. Go ahead, do it. I'm the ruler of 75% of the continent of Cusinone, while you only have 25%. Michael pulls out his sword. Edward, this is going the way I hoped that it would. I revealed you as a hypocrite as well as an ingrate. Michael screaming in anger, ingrate? Edward, yet ingrate. Michael charges directly at Edward. Edward, you're just pissed off at the fact that I'm the savior of the kingdom of Danrayan and you're not. Pamela, knock him back. I want him to drag this out and make him suffer through it. Pamela, hypnotized. Yes, master. Pamela quite easily repels Michael with the shackle on her right arm, sending him flying backwards. Michael lands on the ground and drops his sword. The massive crowd screams. Paul pulls out a golden chalice and places it on the stage. Paul chanting Noitek Nalim Phonasnaim Tekap Ed Ani Flessim Hoderic Sruop Fotnik Nasigon Nes King Michael, Masashi, Edward, and Pamela. Paul, Michael, Masashi, Edward, and Pamela all begin to glow white and then disappear. Cut to EXT Pocket Universe. Paul, Michael, Masashi, Edward, and Pamela all appear in the Pocket Universe. Paul to Michael, we should have the advantage here. There are no citizens to endanger here. Edward to Paul, oh Paul, I know you too well, and I knew that you'd pull something like this and I planned for it. You're not the only one who has magic. Edward pulls the magic lamp out of nowhere and rubs it, summoning Jamila. Paul, oh shit. Jamila, you have summoned me for the first time in 20 years, master. What is your second wish? Edward, my second wish is that everyone here is sent back to the Danrayan's reunion ceremony in a way that destroys the dimension that we're in right now. Jamila, as you command, master. Paul thinking, crap. It took me 5 whole years to create this place. There's no way that I could recreate it before this battle is over. EXT Danrayan Reunion Ceremony Day. Angle on the Golden Chalice. The Golden Chalice begins to crack. EXT Pocket Universe. Edward, consider this mercy. Paul, Michael, Masashi, Edward, Pamela, and Jamila all disappear. EXT Danrayan Reunion Ceremony Day. Paul, Michael, Masashi, Edward, Pamela, and Jamila all appear on the stage. Angle on the Golden Chalice. The Golden Chalice shatters into tiny pieces. Paul, know my efforts. Edward the First could have left you 3-4 dead, but I decided to spare you. Masashi pulls out his bow points and aims an arrow at Edward. Edward, go ahead, do it. Do you really think that Pamela would allow it? I mean, she beat the Bone Wizard to death and she can do the same to you. Michael, call his bluff. Masashi fires an arrow at Edward, but Pamela instantly jumps in front of him and blocks the arrow with the shackle on her right arm. Edward, do it. Pamela, hypnotized. Yes, master. Pamela pulls at the blade of Thor. Pamela jumps directly into the air and lands right in front of Masashi. Masashi, scared you, no, I can't miss at this range. Pamela stabs and kills Masashi with the blade of Thor. Masashi falls onto the stage dead. Michael jumps off of the stage and picks up his sword. The massive crowd screams. Paul looks at Jamila. Paul thinking, I can't kill that genie, but there is something that I can do to slow her down. Paul chanting Jinsenu Ilipsit Potsiam Ahad Miti Et Ararupat Jim. Paul's body begins to admit to dark purple energy. Paul chanting Iteris Nirmadumot Cabantropolis Agantha Ruwatmem Sina. Paul is teleported away. Edward and Michael stare directly at each other. Edward, this is officially war. You started it. forbidden magic or not, you and your flunkies are the villains now. Michael, how dare you say that? Edward and Pamela both jump off of the stage. Edward, Pamela beat this sack of crap to death. Pamela hypnotized, yes, master. Pamela charges directly at Michael and kicks him in the stomach, sending him falling down to the ground. Edward, let's see how strong you are in a one-on-one fight. Now break his bones. Pamela hypnotized, yes, master. As Michael tries to crawl backwards, Pamela grabs him by the right arm and breaks it. Michael screaming in pain at EXT outskirts of Danray Day. Paul rams a magical pole into the ground. Paul thinking I did it. EXT Danray reunion ceremony day. Edward now end him. Pamela hypnotized, yes, master. Pamela picks Michael up off the ground and impales him with the blade of Thor, killing him. The massive crowd screams in terror. Vincent sneaks up on Edward, pulls out his sword and impales him with it. Edward falls down to the ground. Edward, no. Vincent, I looked up to you, all of you. Paul is teleported away. Paul chanting Threadrubtamorphan Rayan Thamojnik Etmrit Otsu that Sterhla Evomer Sigamov Thruotnikna Edib. And barrier appears around Paul and increasingly grows larger and larger. Edward, Pamela and Jamila disappear upon touching the barrier. Diane walks up to both Paul and Vincent. Diane, so is the nightmare over? Paul, the spell removed anyone who wished to harm the kingdom of Danrayan and placed them somewhere outside of its borders. So to answer your question, no, in fact the nightmare's just begun, since the spell that I cast could be undone, if anything happened to just one of the magical poles that I pounded into the ground. Vincent and Edward said that he controls 75% of QC known, so for all I know he'll probably live through this, but even if he doesn't, the kingdom of Danrayan will still have to go to war with the slave army of his empire, and that's a war that we'll eventually have to fight. So Paul's right, the nightmare's just begun.